Hello everyone, before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. Don't you dare walk away when I'm talking to you. The shout cracked through the dining room so sharply that forks paused midair. Under the glow of crystal chandeliers, everything had been quiet: white linen, polished silver, soft murmurs that sounded like money. Then the woman in the bright yellow dress stood up so fast her chair scraped the marble with a scream of its own. Her hand shot out and clamped around the new waitress's wrist. Not a tap. Not a grab meant to get attention. A grip. The waitress didn't flinch. She didn't jerk back. She simply stopped where she was, shoulders squared, eyes steady, as if her body refused to give the room what it wanted: a reaction. She was black, early 30s, hair pulled into a neat bun at the nape of her neck. Crisp white shirt. Black vest. Name tag, NIA. In one hand, she held a small service tray, check presenter, folded napkin, a pen light enough to keep level even while her wrist was trapped. Her fingers tightened around the edge, not in panic, but in control. Across the table, a man in a tailored navy suit sat rigid. Clean cut. Expensive watch. The kind of posture that suggested boardrooms and private planes. His mouth hung slightly open, the surprise written in the tension of his jaw. And around them, the restaurant turned into a still life. A couple by the window lowered their wineglasses at the same time, as if synchronized by shock. A bald man near the back blinked hard, like he was trying to wake up from a scene he didn't want to witness. A blonde woman covered her mouth with one hand, the other hovering over her lap, unsure what to do with itself. The woman in yellow leaned forward, face inches from Nia's. "You people are always the same," she spat, loud enough for every table to hear. "Always pretending you don't understand simple instructions. Always moving slow like the world owes you extra time." The words landed heavy, ugly, familiar. Nia's gaze dropped to the hand on her wrist. Then she lifted her eyes back up. Her voice stayed calm and quiet enough that the room had to lean in to catch it. "Ma'am," she said evenly, "please let go." That composure made the moment sharper. It forced the room to feel the difference between power and cruelty. The woman tightened her grip instead, nails pressing into skin. "I said," she drew the word out, savoring it, "do you know who I am?" Nia didn't shrink. She didn't apologize for existing. She held the stare like someone who'd learned long ago that dignity is not something you request. "I can get the manager," she offered. The woman laughed, short and cruel. "Oh, I don't need you to get anything. I need you to learn your place." A ripple of discomfort moved through the restaurant, chairs shifting, throats clearing, but nobody stood up. Nobody spoke. Not yet. Near the service station, a young waiter glanced toward the kitchen doors like a kid searching for an adult. Behind the host stand, the hostess had gone rigid, fingers already hovering over a tablet as if she could type her way out of violence. The man in the navy suit finally set his fork down. His eyes flicked to the woman in yellow, not tender, not protective. Cautious. Like he was watching something he didn't recognize, or didn't want to be responsible for. "Celeste," he said, low. "A warning." The woman didn't even look at him. "Don't Celeste me," she snapped, then turned back to Nia with her voice climbing again, feeding on the attention. "You just got hired, didn't you? I can always tell. The others know better than to embarrass me." Nia's tray remained steady. Her breathing stayed controlled. I'm sorry you feel embarrassed, she said. But I haven't done anything to you. For a beat, Celeste stared as if she couldn't believe Nia had spoken in full sentences, calm, respectful, unafraid. Then Celeste smiled. It wasn't warmth. It was strategy. You want to play smart, she hissed. Fine. Let's keep it simple. I want you fired. Right now. A collective inhale swept through the room. Not quite a gasp, more like the sound of people realizing they were watching a line get crossed in public. The man in the suit's expression shifted. Confusion drained away, replaced by something sharper. Celeste, he said again, firmer. She waved him off like he was a nuisance. I'm speaking, she snapped. Then, louder, to the room as much as to Nia, you're going to stand right here while I talk to your manager. And you're going to learn what happens when you disrespect my family. The word family hit like a stamp of ownership. And Nia noticed what most people missed. No ring on Celeste's finger, at least, none that matched the story she was selling. No easy intimacy between her and the man. No hand on his arm. No shared glance. He sat stiff, like a man trapped at his own table. The hostess at the stand finally began typing, fast. Too fast. Pulling up the reservation like it was an emergency protocol. A screen glowed. A name appeared at the top. And as the hostess's face drained of color, Nia caught the shift, caught the silent confirmation that something about Celeste did not match what she'd been claiming. The kitchen doors swung open. A manager hurried out, tie slightly crooked, smile already forced into place. He took in the scene, the woman in yellow gripping the waitress's wrist, the diners staring like jurors, the man in the suit looking ready to stand. And he made his decision with his first sentence. Ma'am, he said to Celeste, not even acknowledging Nia, how can we make this right? The manager kept his voice honey smooth, the kind of tone designed to calm storms without admitting they existed. Ma'am, how can we make this right? Celeste didn't loosen her grip on Nia's wrist. If anything, her fingers tightened, like she needed the restaurant to feel her control. You can start by teaching your staff manners, Celeste snapped. This girl thinks she can speak to me like I'm some random customer. The manager's eyes flicked to Nia's trapped hand, then away, like looking at it would force him to take a side. I'm so sorry, he said quickly, turning his body toward Celeste as if shielding her from the discomfort of consequences. We pride ourselves on exceptional service. Let me comp. I don't want comp, Celeste cut in. I want her gone. A hush settled again. It wasn't silence this time. It was the sound of people waiting to see how low the restaurant would bow. Nia's expression didn't change. She kept her shoulders still, breathing steady, refusing to beg. Ma'am, Nia said, gentle but firm, you're hurting me. Celeste's smile flashed, thin, satisfied. Hurt, she scoffed, loud enough for the nearest tables to hear. Oh, please. Don't perform for the room. The manager laughed nervously, trying to turn cruelty into a misunderstanding. Of course, he murmured. Let's all just take a breath. Celeste, we value you. We appreciate you. We. The man in the navy suit shifted in his seat. His chair legs whispered against the floor. He looked like he wanted to stand, but hesitation pinned him down. Celeste, he said again, low. Let her go. Celeste finally glanced at him, and the look she gave was a command dressed as a glare. Stay out of it, she said. He went quiet. That was the first thing Nia registered as truly loud. Not the shouting. Not the insults. The obedience. The manager turned his head slightly, as if he'd heard the man speak but decided it didn't matter. "Ma'am," he continued to Celeste, "we can move you to our private alcove. I'll personally have the chef prepare something special. And I'll assign." "No," Celeste said. "I don't want someone else. I want an example." She lifted Nia's wrist a fraction, like she was displaying property. This is what happens when people forget who they're serving. Several diners looked away, suddenly fascinated by their plates. One man stared directly at the scene, jaw clenched, like he was forcing himself not to intervene. The blonde woman's hands trembled as she set her napkin down, eyes darting toward the staff, waiting for someone, anyone, to do the right thing first. The manager swallowed. "Nia," he said, finally acknowledging her existence, but only as a problem to move. "Why don't you step to the back for a moment?" Nia didn't move. She couldn't. "I will," she said evenly. "As soon as she releases me." The manager's smile tightened. His eyes softened in the way people do when they're about to ask you to accept something unfair. "Celeste," he coaxed, "please. Let's not make this bigger than it needs to be." Celeste's face hardened. "Oh, it's already big," she said. "Because I'll make one call and this place will regret ever hiring her." She turned her chin toward the man in the suit, like he was a trophy she could point to when needed. "You know who my husband is." The word husband dropped into the room like an order. Nia's gaze stayed calm, but her mind kept recording. Not the claim. The reaction. The man's throat bobbed as he swallowed. His eyes didn't meet Celeste's. He stared at the tablecloth like it could tell him how to escape. Behind the host stand, the hostess's tablet remained lit. Her fingers hovered above it again, uncertain now, like she'd pulled up information she wasn't supposed to see. Nia caught the hostess's eyes for half a second. A warning lived there. Or confusion. Or both. Celeste leaned closer to the manager, lowering her voice just enough to sound intimate while still wanting the nearest tables to catch the threat. "We donate to your charity gala," she said. "We bring clients here. We talk. People listen." Then her volume rose again, so the room could feel her power. "You will fire her. Tonight. And you will apologize to me for hiring someone like that." The manager's jaw worked as he calculated. Reputation. Reviews. The fear of money walking out. He nodded once, small and fast. "Okay," he said. "Okay. Ma'am, we'll handle it." Something flickered across Nia's face, not fear, not shock. Recognition. Because she'd seen that nod before. The nod people give when they decide the easiest solution is to sacrifice the person with the least protection. The manager stepped closer to Nia, angling his body so Celeste couldn't see his lips. "Just go to the back," he whispered, tight. "Please. Don't make this worse." Nia held his gaze. "I didn't make it," she said quietly. "I'm just standing in it." Celeste's grip finally loosened, not out of mercy, but because she'd gotten what she wanted. Nia's wrist was free. A faint red mark circled her skin like a bracelet made of disrespect. The manager straightened, turning back toward Celeste with a practiced smile. "Thank you, ma'am," he said. "We'll take care of everything." Celeste sank back into her chair like a queen returning to a throne. And as Nia lowered her arm, rubbing her wrist once, just once, she saw it again at the host stand. The reservation name at the top of the screen. Not Celeste's. Not Mrs. Anything. A name that made the hostess's face go pale. Nia didn't need to see every letter to feel the wrongness. She only needed one thing. The man in the suit looked up, finally meeting Nia's eyes for the briefest moment. In his expression was a plea he didn't know how to speak. And that was when Nia understood, the lie wasn't just Celeste's volume. It was the story the entire room had agreed to believe. Nia turned toward the service corridor, taking one slow step. Then she stopped. Because the manager, still smiling at Celeste, spoke one sentence that wasn't meant for the dining room. But Nia heard it anyway. "Get HR on the phone," he murmured under his breath. "I want her terminated before this woman calls corporate." The service corridor behind the dining room smelled like sanitizer and heat, dish steam, lemon polish, a faint burn of seared butter drifting from the kitchen line. The glamour out front died back here. No chandeliers. No velvet. Just tile, stainless steel, and the quiet hum of people trying not to get blamed. Nia walked in with her wrist still throbbing. The manager followed 2 steps behind her, already dialing. His voice was low, clipped, desperate to sound in control. "Yeah, HR, put them on. Now." He stopped near the POS terminal, the screen throwing a cold light onto his face. A sous chef passed with a tray of plates and didn't even look up. Everyone had learned the fastest way to survive was to pretend they didn't see. The manager turned to Nia like she was a spill that needed wiping. "Listen," he said, forcing a softer tone. "I don't know what you think happened out there, but that woman, she's not someone we upset." Nia stared at him, steady. "She grabbed me," Nia said. "In front of the entire room." He flinched at the word grabbed, as if it was too honest. "I get it," he said quickly. "I do. But we have to be smart. We have to protect the business." Nia's mouth didn't move, but something in her eyes sharpened. "Protect it from what?" she asked. "The truth?" The manager's jaw clenched. He tapped the counter twice, impatient, then pointed at her wrist like it was a minor inconvenience. "Did you provoke her?" he asked. Nia blinked once. Slow. "No." "Did you say something?" he pressed. "Did you roll your eyes? Did you look? This is a high-end room. People here expect a certain tone." Nia let the silence sit for a beat, long enough to make his question sound uglier in the air. "I asked her to let go," Nia said. "That's the tone." The manager's phone clicked. A voice answered faintly on speaker. "HR, this is." He stepped aside, back turned to Nia, shoulders hunched like he was shielding his own conscience. "Yeah, it's me," he said. "We have an incident. New hire. Guest complaint. I need termination guidance tonight." Nia watched him. Not with anger. With a kind of clinical attention. Like she was studying how quickly people were willing to trade someone else's dignity for their own comfort. A door swung open at the end of the hall. The hostess slipped in, face pale, eyes wide. She looked between Nia and the manager, swallowed hard, then mouthed 2 words without sound. "It's wrong." Nia's gaze flicked to the hostess's tablet, clutched tight against her chest. The screen was dim now, but the hostess's hands were still shaking like she'd touched something dangerous. The manager turned back, still on the phone, and gestured at Nia with 2 fingers, dismissive. "She's saying the guest grabbed her," he told HR, voice flat, as if he were reading off a menu. "But the guest is threatening corporate escalation. She's connected." Connected. That word was the leash he kept tugging. From the dining room, Celeste's voice cut through the walls again, muffled but unmistakable. You let that serve me? Are you joking? Nia didn't flinch. She simply listened, absorbing the way the building carried cruelty like background music. The manager snapped his fingers at the hostess. Tell the kitchen to prioritize table 12, he hissed. And keep her happy. The hostess didn't move. Her eyes stayed on Nia for half a second longer. Then she whispered, barely audible. The reservation, it's not hers. The manager whipped his head around. What? The hostess's throat worked. The name on the booking. It doesn't match. And the profile, there's a note. Like a flag. The manager's eyes flashed, panic disguised as anger. Stop talking, he snapped. Go do your job. He turned back to the phone like the truth was an inconvenience he could mute. Nia's voice stayed calm, but it landed with weight. Print the incident report, she said. The manager paused. What? Print it, Nia repeated. I want the exact reason you're firing me, in writing. He stared at her, thrown off by her precision. Most people begged. Most people cried. Most people tried to explain their humanity like it was a resume. Nia didn't. She demanded documentation. The manager's face tightened, and his voice dropped. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Nia's eyes didn't waver. No, she said quietly. You are. For a moment, the manager looked like he might explode. Then he forced a smile, thin, managerial, dangerous. Fine, he said. You want paperwork? You'll get it. He jabbed at the terminal. The printer in the corner whirred to life. And as the paper began to feed out, Nia caught a glimpse of the top line on the screen before he could click away. Not her name. Not Celeste's. A corporate header. And a short internal note that made the hostess go pale for a reason. Compliance audit unannounced. Nia didn't react. Not on her face. But inside, the pieces slid closer together with a quiet, perfect click. Out front, Celeste laughed bright, vicious, like she believed the entire world was her personal staff. In the corridor, the printer kept spitting out pages. And the manager, still holding the phone, didn't realize the building he was trying to protect might already belong to the woman he was about to sacrifice. The paper slid out of the printer in stiff, warm sheets, black text on white, the kind of quiet weapon managers loved. The manager snatched it fast, as if speed could erase what it said. Nia didn't reach for it. She watched his hands instead. They were shaking. Not from anger. From fear. Behind him, the hostess, Lena, the name tag finally visible, stood half-hidden near the doorway, still clutching her tablet like a shield. Her eyes darted to the dining room, then back to Nia, then down the corridor again, as if the walls themselves might report her. Nia lowered her voice. Show me the reservation, she said. Lena hesitated. Her lips parted like she wanted to say yes. Then her gaze flicked to the manager's back and the phone still in his hand. You'll get me fired, Lena whispered. Nia's expression didn't soften into pity. It held steady in something older, understanding without surrender. You're already watching someone get hurt, Nia said quietly. Choose what you can live with. Lena swallowed. Her thumb moved. The screen brightened. A profile page filled the display, reservation details, guest notes, internal tags. Lena angled it just enough for Nia to see, but not enough for the manager. At the top, Table 12, party of 2. Below, a name. Not Celeste's. No Mrs. No hyphenated luxury. No glittering title. Just a corporate account holder's name, clean, unromantic, and a status line that mattered far more than any tantrum in a yellow dress. Owner/stakeholder dining access. Nia's eyes didn't widen. She didn't smile. She simply took in the words the way a pilot takes in a warning light, no panic, only protocol. Lena scrolled. A note appeared, short and surgical. Unannounced compliance audit. Treat staff reports as priority. Do not tip off management. Lena's fingers trembled as she read it. I didn't write that, she breathed. It just popped up today. Nia nodded once, barely. Because it wasn't for you, she said. The manager turned suddenly, as if he could feel secrets in the air. He stepped closer, eyes narrowing on Lena's tablet. What are you showing her? He snapped. Lena jerked the tablet back to her chest like a caught child. Nothing, she lied too fast. The manager's gaze snapped to Nia, then to her wrist, then back to Nia's face, searching for weakness, for an apology, for anything he could use to regain control. On the phone, HR's voice crackled again. What's the employee ID? And what policy violation are we listing? The manager's throat tightened. His eyes flicked to the dining room doorway where Celeste's laugh floated in, sharp, entitled, certain. She's insubordinate, he said, forcing it. She escalated a guest interaction. Nia took one slow breath. Insubordinate, she repeated softly, tasting the lie. Then she looked at him the way people look at someone signing their own confession. You didn't see her grab me? Nia asked. Or you saw it and decided it didn't count? The manager's jaw flexed. He leaned in, lowering his voice into something meant to intimidate. You're new, he hissed. You don't understand how this works. People like her keep the lights on. Nia's gaze slid past him, back toward the dining room where diners pretended not to listen, where the chandelier light made everything look pure. People like her, Nia echoed. The manager froze for half a beat, realizing he'd said too much aloud. Then Celeste's voice rose again from the dining room, closer now, as if she were standing to perform for a new audience. I want the chef out here, Celeste demanded. I want him to apologize to me personally. And I want that waitress gone before my husband comes back from his call. Nia's eyes flicked to Lena. Your husband? Nia murmured. Lena shook her head, barely. He's not wearing a ring, Lena whispered. And the reservation isn't under her name. She just walked in like she owned the place. Everyone got scared. Nia's wrist throbbed under the red mark. She rubbed it once, controlled, as if even pain had to follow rules. In the dining room, a chair scraped again, different this time. Not Celeste's. The sound carried weight. The man in the navy suit had stood. His shadow crossed the doorway, long and clean-cut, and for the first time, his voice wasn't a warning. It was a line being drawn. Enough, he said, calm but unmistakable. Let go of this fantasy, Celeste. Right now. The manager stiffened like he'd been caught stealing. Nia didn't move toward the dining room. She didn't rush. She simply watched the man step forward, watched the room turn toward him like iron filings to a magnet. And she understood the shape of the lie at last. Celeste wasn't powerful. She was loud. And the restaurant, this entire polished machine, had been trained to confuse the two. Nia lifted her chin slightly, eyes steady on the doorway, on the man, on the moment about to tip. "Print everything," she said to Lena, low. "Every note. Every flag. Every time they chose fear over truth." Because out there, under the chandeliers, the performance was reaching its breaking point. And Nia was done being the quiet part of someone else's story. The dining room didn't feel like a restaurant anymore. It felt like a courtroom with chandeliers. Celeste stood beside table 12, her yellow dress catching every beam of light like she'd dressed for attention on purpose. Her chin was raised. Her mouth was set in a smile that didn't belong to joy. The man in the navy suit had moved back from his chair, one hand resting on the table's edge as if he needed something solid. "Enough," he repeated, calm but firm. "You don't touch staff." Celeste turned on him like he'd betrayed her in public. "Don't embarrass me," she snapped. Then she swung her gaze to the manager, sharp, demanding. "I said I want her gone." The manager rushed forward, palms lifted in surrender. "Of course, ma'am," he said, voice pitched high with panic. "We're handling it. We're—" His eyes flicked to the man in the suit, measuring him like an expensive asset. "Sir," he added, eager, "we'll fix this immediately." "Fix this?" As if a person could be erased the way you wiped a spill. Nia stepped into the doorway from the service corridor. The room noticed her the way it notices a match held near gasoline. She walked with control, not defiance. Her wrist was marked faint red where Celeste's nails had pressed. She didn't hide it. She didn't display it. She simply let it exist in the open, undeniable. The diner's attention tightened. Some watched with discomfort. Some watched with curiosity. A few watched with the quiet hunger of people who love drama until it asked them to have a spine. Celeste's smile widened when she saw Nia return. "Look at that," she said, loud. "They brought her back out. Like I'm supposed to keep repeating myself." Nia stopped beside the manager, just far enough to keep space between her body and Celeste's reach. The manager leaned toward Nia, teeth clenched behind a pleasant expression. "Apologize," he whispered. "Just apologize so we can move on." Nia didn't look at him. She looked at Celeste. "Ma'am," Nia said evenly, "you put your hands on me. That's not service. That's assault." The word hit the room like a dropped plate. Celeste barked a laugh, too bright to be real. "Oh, don't be dramatic," she said. "Do you know who you're talking to?" Nia's voice stayed calm. Almost gentle. "That's actually what I'm trying to confirm." Celeste narrowed her eyes. "Excuse me?" The manager stiffened, sensing the air change. Nia lifted her hand, not threatening, just measured, and pointed to the tablet at the host stand across the room. "The reservation for table 12, Nia said. It's under a private account. Verified access. If you're who you say you are, you'll know the account identifier." Celeste's mouth opened, already prepared to steamroll. Then it paused. Just a fraction too long. The man in the navy suit's posture shifted. Not protective. Not supportive. Alert. The manager forced a chuckle, trying to drown the tension. "We don't need to get into internal details," he said quickly. "Nia, this isn't appropriate." "It is," Nia cut in, still quiet. Still controlled. Because she's asking for someone's livelihood. And she's claiming authority she may not have. Celeste's cheeks tightened, the first crack in her polished certainty. "My authority is my husband," she snapped, turning toward the man like he was a stamp she could slap on the moment. Tell them. The man's eyes held on Celeste for a beat. Then his gaze slid away, like he didn't want to lie for her. Nia, the manager hissed under his breath, stop. Right now. Nia didn't flinch. She took one step closer to the host stand, close enough for Lena to understand without being told. Lena's fingers moved fast, pulling up the reservation details again. Nia didn't even look at the screen. She looked at Celeste. One question, Nia said. The account has a verification phrase tied to it. Every authorized party knows it. What is it? Celeste's lips parted. Nothing came out. A quiet murmur rolled through the room, small, nervous sounds, like people realizing the story they'd swallowed might have been fake. Celeste's eyes darted to the manager. To Lena. To the man. To the diners watching. Then she lifted her chin higher, louder, trying to crush the pause under volume. I don't have to prove anything to you, she snapped. You're a waitress. The man in the navy suit exhaled through his nose, slow. A decision settling. The manager's smile began to slip, because for the first time, Celeste didn't sound powerful. She sounded cornered. Nia's voice didn't rise. It dropped, calm as a closing door. Then you won't mind, she said, when I confirm who the reservation is actually for. And as Lena's tablet tilted slightly, the glow from the screen touched the manager's face. And drained it of color. The color drains from the manager's face so fast it looks like someone pulled a plug. His smile, that polished, customer service mask, doesn't just fade. It collapses. Lena, he says sharply, voice cracking at the edge, turn that off. But it's too late. Because the room has felt it. That shift. That sudden, unmistakable scent of fear, real fear, not the pretend kind staff used to flatter rich people. Celeste leans forward, still trying to win with volume. What is wrong with you people, she snaps. Who cares what name is on some stupid tablet? I'm here. I'm the one you need to worry about. Nia doesn't move. She stays exactly where she is, like an anchor dropped into chaos. The name matters, Nia says. Because you've been using it like a weapon. The man in the navy suit steps closer, just one pace. The light from the chandelier catches the hard line of his jaw. Celeste, he says, low. Controlled. Stop. Celeste whips toward him. Her smile tries to reattach itself. Baby, she says, syrupy now, trying a different mask. Tell them. Tell them who I am. He doesn't take the bait. His eyes travel to Nia's wrist. The red mark is still there. A small circle of proof that doesn't care about money. Then he looks at the manager, and his voice turns cold. Why is she still touching staff, he asks. The manager stammers. Sir, we handled it. We're handling it. The diners begin to murmur now, quiet, restrained, but spreading like a crack through glass. A phone lifts slightly at a back table. Someone else shushes them, like they're in church. Celeste notices the attention slipping away from her control, and she tightens her posture, sharpening her words. This is ridiculous, she says loudly. I'm his wife. I'm the reason this place has status. And if you want to keep your jobs. Celeste, the man interrupts. Not a warning this time. A stop sign. He turns fully toward her, and for the first time, the room sees it in his face, he isn't embarrassed. He's done. You're not my wife, he says, clear enough for every table to hear. And you need to stop saying you are. Silence hits the dining room like a wave. Celeste's lips part. Her eyes widen, then narrow, searching for a way to twist this back into her script. What are you doing? She hisses, too soft now. You're humiliating me. You've been humiliating yourself, he says, voice still even. And you've been using my name to bully people. The manager's hands hover uselessly in the air, as if he can physically catch the moment before it falls. Sir, he sputters, I assumed, she said. I know what she said, the man replies, looking at him like he's disappointed. And you believed it because it was convenient. Celeste laughs, but it's not laughter. It's panic dressed up as sound. You're lying, she snaps. You're doing this because she jerks her chin at Nia, she's making a scene. She's turning you against me. Nia doesn't respond. She doesn't need to. The truth is already doing the work. The man reaches into his inner jacket pocket and pulls out his phone. His thumb moves with calm precision, like he's done handling crises before. You've been showing up places under a name that isn't yours, he says to Celeste, eyes steady. You've been signing for reservations you didn't book. You've been telling staff you're family when you're not. Celeste's face tightens, anger flashing bright. I was invited, she spits. I belong with you. I belong in rooms like this. You belong nowhere, you have to steal a title to enter, he says. That line lands. Heavy. Final. Lena's tablet glows at the host stand, still open, still damning. She doesn't move now. She's frozen, caught between a manager who wanted silence and a truth that refuses to be turned off. Nia speaks again, gently, like she's placing the last piece on a table. Ma'am, she says, the reservation isn't under your name. And the verification phrase you refuse to answer, only authorized parties know it. Celeste's gaze darts to the diners. To the phones. To the waiters watching from the edge of the room. Her confidence fractures into something raw. Who are you? She spits at Nia, voice shaking. Why are you doing this? Nia's eyes don't harden. They simply hold. Because you put your hands on me, Nia says. And because you thought fear would protect you. The manager tries one last time to salvage control. Sir, we can handle this discreetly. No, the man says, cutting him off without raising his voice. You already handled it the way you always do. You protected the loudest person in the room and tried to punish the one who stayed professional. Celeste stands abruptly, chair scraping again, this time a desperate sound. You're making a mistake, she snaps. You're all making a mistake. But her words don't command anymore. They wobble. The man's phone is already at his ear. Security, he says into it, calm as a judge. I need someone at table 12. Celeste's head whips toward the exit, calculating. Searching for an escape route. And Nia, still steady, still quiet, watches her with the kind of calm that comes from knowing the lie has finally cracked wide open. Because now the room doesn't fear Celeste. Now the room is watching her. 2 security guards appeared at the edge of the dining room, dark suits, earpieces, eyes trained and calm. Not the kind who argued. The kind who ended things. Celeste saw them and instantly changed her face, like flipping a switch. Oh, thank God, she breathed, loud enough for the room to hear. Finally. Remove her. She attacked me. The lie came out smooth, well-rehearsed, familiar, practiced in rooms where people believe the loudest voice. But the guards didn't move toward Nia. They paused. Their eyes went to the man in the navy suit. Then, unexpectedly, they shifted again past him toward the host stand, where Lena's tablet still glowed like a small sun. The manager stepped in front of the guards with a nervous laugh, hands raised. "Gentlemen, we're handling it internally," he said. "No need to." One guard's gaze didn't even flicker. "Sir," he said, polite but unbudging, "we're here for the compliance call." The manager's throat tightened. The word compliance landed like handcuffs. Celeste's smile faltered for half a second, then she tried to bulldoze it. "Compliance," she scoffed. "This is a restaurant, not a courthouse. Do your job. Get rid of her." The man in the navy suit didn't look at Celeste anymore. He looked at Nia. And there was something different in his expression now, something like recognition catching up to what his instincts had been screaming. He began, then stopped, as if saying it out loud would detonate the room. Nia finally stepped forward, calm as ever, the red mark on her wrist still visible under the cuff of her uniform. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't posture. She simply reached into the inside pocket of her vest and pulled out a slim card, black matte, gold lettering. Not a server's card. An executive credential. She held it out, not to Celeste, but to the manager. His eyes dropped to it. And his face lost whatever color it had left. Nia's name sat on that card like a verdict. Nia Carter, Chief Executive Officer. Under it, the parent company of the restaurant group. The manager's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Lena's breath caught behind the host stand, the sound of someone watching a nightmare finally name itself. Celeste blinked, once, twice. Her brain tried to reject the information the way a body rejects poison. "CEO," she laughed, too sharp, too desperate. No. That's ridiculous. She's wearing a uniform." Nia's gaze moved to Celeste, steady and unreadable. "I wore a uniform," Nia said softly, "because I needed to see who you all become when you think I'm powerless." The manager stumbled back a half step, like the floor had shifted. "Miss Carter, he started, voice cracking. "I didn't know. If I had known." "That," Nia said, cutting him off without heat, "is the point." The words didn't need volume. They had weight. She turned slightly, addressing the guards now, her tone all business. "Thank you for responding," she said. "Please document the incident and escort the guest out." Celeste jerked forward, panic finally breaking through her arrogance. "You can't do this to me," she snapped. "You're humiliating me in front of everyone." Nia didn't flinch. "You humiliated yourself," she replied. "When you grabbed my wrist. When you used someone else's name. When you tried to buy silence with fear." Celeste's eyes darted to the man in the navy suit, pleading. "Tell her," she hissed. "Tell her she's making a mistake." He didn't move. He didn't rescue her. His voice was quiet, final. "You made the mistake," he said. "You just got caught." The guard stepped in, not rough, precise. One gestured toward the exit. "Ma'am," he said, "this way." Celeste's heel scraped once as she resisted, then she realized something terrifying. No one was rushing to protect her. Not the manager. Not the diners. Not the man whose name she'd been wearing like stolen jewelry. And as she was guided toward the door, Nia looked at the room, at the frozen faces, the lowered eyes, the people who had watched a woman get grabbed and waited to see who had more money. Her voice remained calm. But it cut clean. Tonight, Nia said, we learned the difference between status and character. Celeste's exit didn't sound like justice. It sounded like embarrassment, heels slipping on marble, a breathy protest, the soft shuffle of guards who didn't need to raise their voices. But the real noise came after. The room exhaled. Chairs creaked as people shifted, suddenly unsure where to put their eyes now that the mask had fallen. Cutlery clinked again, nervous, meaningless, like the dining room was trying to pretend it hadn't just watched cruelty get escorted out. Nia didn't follow Celeste to the door. She stayed where she was, centered, the way a judge stays seated when the defendant is removed. The manager stood rigid beside her, hands hovering at his sides like he couldn't remember what humans did with their arms. His lips moved, then stopped. His throat worked. "Miss Carter," he tried again, voice thin, "I truly didn't." Nia turned her head just slightly. Not a glare. Not a smile. A quiet look that told him he didn't get to hide behind ignorance. "You didn't know my title," she said. "But you knew." She grabbed my wrist. The manager's face twitched. "I was trying to protect the restaurant," he whispered. Nia's eyes moved across the room, over white tablecloths and expensive plates, over diners who had watched, who had waited, who had stayed silent. "No," she corrected, calm as glass. "You were trying to protect your comfort." The man in the navy suit stepped closer, stopping at a respectful distance from Nia, like he understood he was not the center of this story. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I should have ended it sooner." Nia's gaze held him for a beat. She acknowledged the apology with the smallest nod, acceptance without softness. "People always think it's sooner when it's someone else being hurt," she said. He didn't argue. He looked down, ashamed in a way money couldn't buffer. At the host stand, Lena's hands still shook as she clutched the tablet. Her eyes flicked between Nia and the manager like she was watching two realities collide, one that had ruled her job, and one that might finally change it. Nia turned toward Lena. "You did the right thing," she said. Lena swallowed hard. "I was scared." "So was everyone," Nia replied, letting her voice carry just enough for the room to hear. "That's why it mattered." Then Nia faced the dining room fully. She didn't shout. She didn't perform. She spoke the way policy speaks, clear, unbreakable, impossible to talk over. "Tonight wasn't about one woman in a yellow dress," Nia said. "It was about what happens in this room when someone thinks a person in a uniform has no protection." A diner near the window looked away, cheeks flushed. Another stared at their plate like it could forgive them. Nia's eyes found the manager again. "You were ready to fire me," she said, "because you believed fear was customer service." The manager's voice cracked. "I..." Nia lifted one hand, stopping him without touching him. "Save it for the report," she said. The security guard by the exit stepped back in, holding a small notepad, professional and quiet. "Miss Carter," he said, "we'll need your statement." Nia nodded once. "And I'll need yours," she said to the manager, voice calm but final. "Every decision you made. Every word you said. Especially the ones you thought no one important would hear." The manager's knees seemed to weaken. He gripped the edge of the host stand as if the building might disappear beneath him. Nia's gaze swept the room one last time, landing on the empty space where Celeste had been. "Status doesn't make someone untouchable," she said. "It just reveals who's willing to touch others." Then she turned toward the corridor, steady, unhurried, because the next part of justice wasn't loud. It was paperwork, accountability, and the kind of consequence that lasts longer than a scene. The private office at the back of the restaurant was all glass and quiet, tasteful art, a leather chair, a shelf of awards meant to impress people who needed proof. From here, the dining room looked distant, like a scene contained behind a window. Nia stood at the desk with her statement already forming in clean, exact sentences. Not emotional. Accurate. The security guard sat across from her with a notepad. Lena hovered near the doorway, arms wrapped around herself as if she were trying to keep her courage from spilling out. The manager sat in a chair he didn't belong in anymore, shoulders slumped, hands clasped tight, eyes darting like an animal that finally realized the trap was built for him. Nia spoke first. Time, she said. Right the time the incident started. The moment she grabbed my wrist. The guard nodded, pen moving. Witnesses, Nia continued. Table near the window. 2 guests. The bartender. The hostess. The man in the navy suit. Cameras, front entrance, dining room, corridor. The manager tried to interrupt, voice raw. Ms. Carter, please, let me explain. This isn't who we are. Nia didn't even look at him. Who you are, she said, is what you did when you thought it didn't matter. That landed like a lock-clicking shut. The guard glanced up once, then kept writing. Nia turned slightly to Lena. You said there was a flag in the system, she said. Tell him exactly what you saw. Lena swallowed, then stepped forward like she was walking onto thin ice. It said. Unannounced compliance audit, Lena whispered. And do not tip off management. The manager's eyes widened. That's not. Nia finally looked at him then. Calm. Unforgiving. So you admit you would have changed your behavior if you'd known, she said. Meaning you knew your behavior needed changing. The manager's mouth opened. No sound came out. Nia faced the guard again. Add this, she said. The manager instructed HR to terminate me before the guest called corporate. The guard's pen paused. He said that? Nia didn't blink. Word for word, she replied. And the staff in the corridor heard it. The manager's voice cracked, defensive and small. I was trying to protect the company. Nia cut him off, still quiet. You were trying to protect yourself, she said. At the cost of an employee's safety. The guard wrote again, slower now. Outside the glass office, the restaurant continued. Plates carried, wine poured, the illusion patched back together for the diners who preferred comfort over conscience. Inside, the illusion died. Nia reached into her vest and placed the printed papers on the desk, the incident notes, the policy summary, the termination guidance the manager had started to chase like a lifeline. She slid them toward the guard. Attach those, she said. And request the call logs from tonight. HR internal lines. Everything. Lena's eyes flicked to Nia, awe mixed with relief. You're really going to do it, Lena murmured. Nia's expression softened just a millimeter. I'm going to do what should have been done before it reached my wrist, she said. The manager leaned forward, desperation breaking through. Please, he whispered. I have kids. This is my livelihood. Nia held his gaze for the first time, steady as stone. And I had my dignity, she said. And you were ready to trade it for a stranger's tantrum. The guard closed his notepad. Miss Carter, he said, professional, what action do you want taken tonight? Nia didn't hesitate. Immediate suspension pending investigation, she said, nodding at the manager. And an emergency staff meeting before close. Every employee. No excuses. The manager's shoulders sagged as if the words had weight. Nia stood, straightened her uniform, not because she needed to, but because she refused to let anyone believe power made her sloppy. Then she walked to the glass wall and looked out at the dining room one more time. Not to enjoy the victory. To remember the silence. Because Part 8 wasn't about Celeste anymore. It was about the system that had made Celeste feel safe enough to do what she did, and the system that was about to meet a consequence it couldn't charm its way out of. The staff meeting happened after the last dessert left the kitchen, after the chandeliers dimmed, after the dining room returned to silence that wasn't hiding anything anymore. They gathered in the same room where Celeste had performed her power. Servers in black vests. Hosts with tight smiles that never reached their eyes. Line cooks with burn marks on their forearms. Dishwashers still smelling like steam and soap. Even the bartender stood with arms crossed, jaw clenched, like he'd been waiting for someone to finally say what everyone knew. The manager wasn't there. Not at the head of the room. Not pacing with a clipboard. Not pretending this was just another shift. He sat off to the side, escorted, silent, suspended in real time. Nia stood near table 12, exactly where her wrist had been grabbed, like she wanted the room to remember the geography of the moment. She didn't wear the CEO card on a lanyard. She didn't announce her title again. She didn't need to. Everyone already felt it. But she spoke with something stronger than authority. She spoke with clarity. I'm not here to punish fear, Nia said, voice calm, carrying without force. I'm here to end the habit of obeying it. A few people shifted. Someone swallowed audibly. The air was thick with the question nobody wanted to ask out loud. What happens to us now? Nia answered without being asked. Tonight, a guest put hands on an employee, she said. And the system around her, our system, treated it like a customer service problem. She lifted her wrist slightly. The red mark had faded, but the memory hadn't. I want everyone to understand something, she continued. If your job requires you to accept humiliation, then it's not a job. It's a trap. The words didn't come with anger. They came with a rule. She looked across the staff, slow, deliberate, letting her gaze land on the people who had frozen, the people who had looked away, the people who had wanted to help but didn't know how. Some of you stayed silent, Nia said. I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to tell you that silence is expensive and the bill always comes due. Lena stood near the back, hands clasped together. Her eyes were wet, but she didn't blink. She looked like someone learning that courage could exist without screaming. Nia nodded toward her. One person chose truth, Nia said. Not because she was fearless. Because she was tired. Lena's shoulders shook once. She looked down quickly, embarrassed by the attention. Nia's gaze shifted to the diner's side of the room, empty now, but still present in everyone's mind. Celeste wasn't powerful, Nia said. She was loud. And we have trained ourselves to confuse volume for value. A quiet murmur rolled through the staff, agreement mixed with shame. Nia let it settle, then continued. Effective immediately, no guest, no matter what they claim, gets to touch you, she said. If someone grabs you, you step back. You call a supervisor. You call security. And if management fails you, you call me. The room went still again, but this time, it wasn't fear. It was attention. Real attention. The kind people give when they realize policy can actually protect them. And for management, Nia added, eyes sliding toward the suspended manager, we're done rewarding people for sacrificing staff to preserve an image. The manager's face crumpled. He tried to speak. Nia held up a hand, not cruel, just final. "Save it," she said. "You had your chance when my wrist was in her hand." The man in the navy suit stood quietly near the wall, no longer trying to control the scene. He looked smaller than he had under the chandeliers. He didn't interrupt. He didn't center himself. He simply watched, learning. Nia took one slow breath, then delivered the last thing she wanted everyone to carry out of the building. "Dignity isn't a perk," she said. "It's the baseline. And anyone who can't meet the baseline, guest or employee, doesn't belong in this room." She paused, letting the words land like a gavel. Then she softened, not into sentiment, but into something human. "I came in wearing a uniform," Nia said. "And some of you treated me like I was disposable." She let that truth stand on its own. "But I'm not here because I'm the CEO," she finished. "I'm here because no one should need a title to be treated like a person." No applause broke out. Not at first. What happened was quieter. A server exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. A line cook nodded once, hard. Lena lifted her chin. Someone in the back wiped their face quickly, angry at themselves for almost crying. Nia looked around the room one last time. Then she turned toward the exit, steady, unhurried, because justice didn't need a dramatic walk-off. It needed a new standard. And tonight, under those chandeliers, the standard had finally been set.